Achtung, Achtung, hier ist Alex Wright, and you are listening to Chat, Grapple, and Cheat Pops with JB and Chris Dredd. Enjoy it, or I come over and kick your ass.
Welcome everyone to another very special episode of Chat, Grapple and Cheat Pops podcast. I am Chris Dredd. I'm here with my main man, JB. I know we say that every single episode is a very special episode, but this one is a very special episode. We are here with, as retro 90s wrestling podcasts go, this man is the freaking man. He was integral in WCW all the way through the 90s, pretty much all the way through early 90s to early 2000s. He was there through it all, and he was, I would say, I don't know, he's probably had more matches than most people. He was on every Nitro pretty much. He was on every pay-per-view. I mean, what do you reckon, Jay?
Yeah, he must have been on the Saturday nights on WCW Pro, everything like that. So man, I'm excited. You're excited. I hope everyone else is excited. So how's about we just say Achtung?
And let's do this, baby. Welcome everyone to a very special episode of Chat, Grapple and Cheat Pops podcast. I am Chris Dredd. I'm here with my main man, JB, and today we have an absolutely amazing guest. He was integral to the WCW all the way through the 90s into the early 2000s. He is former WCW Cruiserweight Champion, former WCW TV Champion, former WCW Tag Team Champion, and just an amazing guy in the ring. We love to welcome him. It's Mr. Das Wunderkind, Alex Wright.
Achtung, Achtung! Here is Alex Wright.
Oh, amazing.
Straight from Germany.
Yes. Oh, we were waiting for the Achtung, Achtung, and you've just made our day already, Alex, with that. Thank you.
Alex, how are you? How's things going? Are you in Germany right now?
Yeah, I live in Germany now. Yeah, I got my own wrestling school here and my own wrestling promotion. So when I moved over from the States, that was about in 2004. I opened both, and it's running really good. Besides the last 1.5 years because of Corona, but now we are allowed to give training again. So everything is fine again.
So that's the Right Stuff Wrestling School, right?
The Right Stuff Pro Wrestling School, yes.
Excellent. Whereabouts in Germany is that, Alex?
In Nuremberg.
In Nuremberg. So anyone in Germany, if you want to be trained by one of the best, then get down to the Right Stuff School in Nuremberg in Germany. You know, we ourselves trained in the UK. We just didn't have what it took, you know. So we didn't quite make it, but we enjoyed every moment of training. And you know, the wrestling business and wrestling training is hard. You know, it's not, people might get into it thinking that it's easy, or you know, that it's fun and games, but I'm sure you'll tell us, Alex, it's tough going, right?
Yeah, it's a tough sport. You know, it's an impact sport combined with sports and entertainment, with a lot of, you know, entertainment, and but of course it's really hard to take the impact, you know, all the impact moves and stuff like that. And also you have to learn a lot of stuff, you know. I mean, if you want to be one of the best in the sport and you want to travel the world and wrestle for all the promotions, you have to have a big repertoire, you know. And so it's not easy to learn all that stuff, you know.
Definitely not.
Alex, how many students do you have at the moment in the school?
Well, I downsized again because it was too much. Right now I have students from all over Europe and from actually all over the world. They come to my place, and I'm booked 1.5 years in advance. And I had a big gym with 2 rings and stuff like that. And we did TV production also there. We had a TV deal running with my promotion, but it was just too much, you know. And I want to enjoy wrestling, and I want to enjoy being in a wrestling sport. And if anything in life gets too much, then you can't enjoy it anymore. So I decided to switch the gym again, and just you know, downsize how many people I train. And right now I'm at about, you know, somewhere between 45 and 50 people what I train at the moment. Before I had about 100 students.
Wow.
And yeah, it was just too much. You know, I want to really be personally involved in training each and every one. And 100 students, it's really tough and really hard, you know.
That's I mean, even 50 I think is quite a lot, but it's good because, you know, that at least with that number, then you're able to spend more time individually with everybody, right?
Exactly, that's the whole point of it, downsizing, you know.
And you don't have anyone else there training? It's just you training all the guys and girls?
Well, when I had 100 students, I had 2 co-trainers, which I also have trained. And of course, I developed all the training plans and all that thing. I mean, I decided what they teach and what not and stuff like that. But still, like you said, I wanted to be personal involved with everybody. And so right now I'm just myself just giving training, and sometimes my dad also.
Oh, wow. I mean, we will get into Steve, you know, or Bull Blitzer, as he was known later on in the UK. I mean, myself and Jordan, we, you know, being from the UK, we have watched wrestling growing up. And I mean, your dad came through in, you know, the early 70s through the 80s into the 90s. And I mean, he's wrestled some of the best as well, you know, from all over the world. It's just incredible. And it's good because when we watch you wrestle, I think it, as a UK guys, as we've been trained in a certain way, we can kind of tell by watching you when you wrestled that you were trained by a British guy, because you've got certain techniques that are very British, shall we say, you know, like the cartwheels,
yes,
and things like that.
I have to say I'm very proud of it too, that I have that style, and I'm very thankful and grateful to my dad that he teach me that. So I was kind of lucky to have a dad which you know, trained in the UK. And actually I'm half British anyway, so I'm very proud to be half British also.
That's great. I mean, and your European uppercuts, your forearms are fantastic, and you know they're just like your dad's. You know, it's watching you sometimes. Some of the moves you do, the cartwheels and stuff, was just absolutely fantastic, because it was definitely shades of Steve. It's great to know that he's still doing bits of training, and that is he.
Yeah, I mean, he loves the sport. You know, I mean, wrestling was his life, so any chance he gets, you know, he drops down to the school and trains my students.
I will say one match involving your dad, it was absolutely incredible, Alex. It was Brian Maxine in 1972. It was a World of Sport British match, and it was like 8 rounds of 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was just, it's like a British wrestling masterclass.
Yeah, I just recently saw it on YouTube.
Oh,
yeah,
fantastic.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was so much. I mean, so much technique and so much telling a story, you know, over a long time, without right away going into brawling or stuff like that. You know, that's very. Even for me, it's very. I still learn from that match how you can tell a story without going right away to brawling or whatever, you know.
It was absolutely beautiful storytelling, the way it was built up, and the fantastic thing with that match as well, when you watch it, like It's a thing in British wrestling where the crowd at that time, that's 1972, and I think your dad was only 18 at the time.
Yeah, 19, yeah.
And he was called the Warrington Wonder Boy as well, right?
Right, exactly.
So, you know, it's got, you know, that Wonder Boy, Wonderkind stuff coming through. Fantastic. But the crowd at that time, through the 70s and the 80s, were like the old ladies that would sit in the front row were literally waiting to jump in the ring and throttle Brian Maxine. You know, it was like the heat was just incredible back then, because kayfabe definitely in UK, in British wrestling, was like, it was real. You know, it was... You know, it was incredible. And the fact that you come from that legacy, you can definitely tell, like, when you were in the ring working, it was, you were there, you were wrestling, and you were, you know, that legitimacy definitely came through watching you.
Thank you very much. That's what I always tried to achieve, you know, give my 100% and make it, you know, so in my opinion, it's very important to have an emotional connection to the fan and to the audience. And if you cannot reach that or achieve that, then you might be a good sportsman or a good athlete, but you won't be a good wrestler. You know, a wrestler is not, you're not just with your opponent in the ring. You have to look for the referee and for the audience. And if you know, always have an open ear for the atmosphere in the audience, then there's a good chance that you can satisfy the audience with your match in doing the right stuff at the right time.
Alex, if you don't mind me shifting gears for a minute, how did it come about that you ended up going to WCW?
Well, when I started, I had my first professional match at the age of 16, and I was the youngest German wrestler, and I would say probably worldwide one of the youngest wrestlers. So I get a lot of media attention in Germany, and I got invited to a lot of talk shows and radio shows and TV shows. And I had one TV show which was very very famous here in Germany, Schreinemakers Live. I met Johnny B. Bad and Sting, and also I met the tour manager. And the tour manager said, "Hey, why don't you show up in Munich? We have a German tour right now going on." And, you know, of course, I took the invitation, and my dad, being a veteran in the business, he said, "Hey, kid, you never know what's going to happen. Take your wrestling gear with you." And I was lucky, I guess, because one of the guys was hurt, of the WCW guys, and they asked me to have a match that night. And funny thing, the first match in WCW was against Paul Roma, and we really had a really good match. So Ric Flair came up to me after the match and said, "Hey, listen, kid, I really enjoyed what I saw, and would you like to finish the tour with us?" And of course, I said yes. You know, a big chance for a young kid like me. I was 18 years old, and yeah, the next night I wrestled against Frank Anderson, which was an Olympic amateur wrestler, and they enjoyed that match also. And you know, every night I just busted my ass, because I knew it's like every day a tryout, you know. And at the end of the tour, Ric Flair called me in the hotel room, and surprisingly, Eric Bischoff was also there. And they offered me a contract. And I had to decide at the age of 18, in 1 week, if I take this chance or not. And of course I did. And then I moved by myself at the age of 18 to the States, which was a really big step, you know. At that time, I had already a signed contract with CWA, Catch Wrestling Association, for 1 year. But you know, since my dad wrestled many years for them, they said, "Nah, it's okay. It's a big chance for your son. We release him out of the contract," and that was it. And from that, you know, was the best decision that I could take to go to the States. You know, I have to excuse my English. I haven't talked English for a while. You know, it's hard to switch the languages again. But anyway, no, it was a really, really hard step to move over there, because at that time I was engaged already. And when I moved to the States, at the age of 18, you're not an adult legally over there. You're gonna, I think it's 21, the age that you're an adult over there.
21 to drink.
So you don't get the respect like you get in Europe. And the next thing is, I'm a foreigner, and I was German also. So that didn't make me very sympathetic to all my colleagues over there. And then when I finally got a push, that was even harder. So the first 9 months were really tough. I really had to, how you say, take my respect, or how get the respect.
You had, like had to earn your respect.
Yeah.
And I mean, we really appreciate you doing it in English, because myself and Jordan's German is Scheiße. So
no, that's okay.
So
well, the thing is, when you live in a country where you speak English, or if you have the chance to speak more often English, it's not hard to speak English. But I think the last time I spoke English was like, I don't know, a year ago, something like that, or half a year ago. So
yeah, it is like that with languages. When you're immersed in it and you're speaking it every day, it kind of flows off the head, and you can just
automatically.
Yeah.
But right now I'm missing words, a lot of the time. So
no worries. Like I said, we really appreciate it. I mean, it's fantastic just to be talking with you, Alex, man. It's great stuff. So when you came into WCW, I mean, even in the early days, you were having some fantastic matches on TV, on pay-per-views. I mean, you had a great match with Paul Roma on, where was it? It was not Clash of the Champions. I think in 1995, you had a great match with Paul Roma. You had a fantastic match with Brian Pillman. In the early days, it was just absolutely fantastic stuff, and it was often the first match of the night, and you just set the place on fire. You literally, the actual wrestling. I don't think in the WWF at that time there was really many matches technically that were up to par to your matches, really.
Well, thank you very much. Well, my thing was always, when I step in the ring, I want to give 100% for the audience, and 100% for the promoter, and of course 100% of myself. And my dad always told me, it doesn't matter what kind of match it is, if it's a championship match or a regular match, if it's a house show or a TV show, just give 100%. And that's, I just love that sport, and I really enjoyed being in the ring, and being in the ring with that many great other talents like Eddie Guerrero, Pillman, Malenko, and all those guys. I really had a blast, and I learned a lot every time I stepped in the ring. So I really enjoyed it.
I mean, the list of people that you've worked with in the ring is just way too many to list all of them, and they're all just absolutely top tier talents, from British Bulldog, Ultimo Dragon, Regal, Kidman, Fit Finlay, Malenko, Jericho, and also Fit Finlay. I know you probably knew him from way back with your dad. I know there's a video on YouTube in Vienna, I think, in '93.
Yeah, I knew him since a little child. Yeah.
So, I mean, working with him in WCW was great as well, because, you had the whole angle that he broke your dad's leg, and it was,
Yeah. Well, actually, I worked him before that in CWA. He was one of my first matches. My first match was against Colonel Brody. And I think my third match in Hanover was against Finlay. That was a really tough match. He's a tough guy.
Yeah, pretty stiff.
Yeah, solid, I would say, solid. But I got taught by my dad to work solid, so I really enjoyed it. I rather have it solid instead of being, really soft, because then you don't know how to sell it.
That's right.
Whose idea was the music and the dancing?
Well, actually, it was a management idea. Before I moved to the States, techno was really big in the dance clubs here in Germany. I mean, I had a really big hype, and I enjoyed that music. I went to all those dance clubs and partied my ass off. And when I went to the States, in the first year, sometime in the first year, I went out with some officials, the WCW officials, to a dance club, and in the States it just started to, with all the techno and stuff like that. And, I did my dance, and they said, "Hey, kid, what are you doing there? That's very unique," and stuff like that. And I said, "Yeah, that's how we dance in Germany, or how I danced in Germany." And they said, "Okay, from now on, you're gonna start doing the dance in the ring." And I said, "What? Why? I don't want to do that." They said, "Yeah, well, now you have to do it." So, since I'm being a pro, I did what I said. And on one hand, it was really, really good to dance because it made me unique. And a lot of people recognized me very soon on the streets and stuff like that. And even 20 years after that, people still remember me, for the dance and for the wrestling. And that's very special, because usually when you're off TV 6 months, people forget you, So I guess the dance helped me to stay in their memories. And on the other hand, the bad side of the dance was that I had a hard time that the hardcore fans looked past the dancing and looked at my wrestling abilities. So, some people like it, some people didn't like it, but it was definitely entertaining.
It is one of those things that, even now when we watch WCW all the time still, mainly on our channel on YouTube. We watch older events and then we review them retrospectively. And we end up watching quite a lot of wrestling, especially the older WCW stuff. And it still brings a smile to our face, whether you were a baby face doing the dance, and everybody's clapping and dancing in the crowd as well, or whether you were a heel and it was just pissing people off. It was either way, it worked great.
Yeah, it always worked. Yeah, definitely. But it really worked very well being a heel. I mean, I really enjoyed working as a heel and being a heel, and the dance fit was better for being a heel, I think. Yeah, it worked better being a heel. Anyway, at the age of 25, I thought being a heel is much better. It's much easier being a heel anyway, especially if you're a foreigner in the States. So
yeah. Well, I mean, even in I watched this the other day. I watch a lot of VHS, and I had Rhodes Wild 1998.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if I ever remember you doing any other hardcore matches, kind of apart from that one with the Public Enemy.
Yeah, I think that. No, I worked Sabu on Nitro.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't a hardcore match, but I went through the table, But,
yeah. Was that his debut?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was a really good guy. I mean, most of the guys in WCW didn't want to work him because they were afraid working him that they get injured or whatever. But really cool guy, and I really enjoyed working him. I mean, he's a crazy guy, but it was fun working him. Yeah. And Public Enemy in Road Wild in Sturgis.
Yeah.
That was a match which stayed in my memory because it was so hot that nobody of us wanted to take a bump on the plastic in the middle of the ring, because you got burned as soon as you touched it. And the stuff what we had in our match, the hardcore, stuff, like we had some metal stuff and whatever, the sun heated it so much up, when you try to pick it up, you burn your fingers. I mean, it was really bad.
Wow,
That's so
mad.
crazy. I was watching it last night, and you know, we always like to watch stuff back, you know, before we interview people, because you know we've watched all this stuff when we were growing up, but obviously as a refresher, and it's crazy because, like you say, the middle of the ring had like the vinyl, you know, the plastic in the middle of the ring, and man, it did look hot there. Like the sun was incredible.
I was right before my entrance. I was standing behind the curtain. I was just dripping from sweat, as just like I was under the shower. It was so unbelievable hot. It was a great place to work at. I mean, it was very with all the motorcycles around the ring and stuff like that. It was really cool.
How did Tokyo Magnum get involved with you and Disco?
I really can't recall. I think Hattori brought him in, and I don't know if it was maybe Disco's idea or somebody's idea, you know, to bring him in. Have no clue, but it was a really funny stuff he did in Tokyo Magnum. He was a good guy.
Yeah, his dancing was fantastic as well, man.
yeah, he was a really good dancer also. Yeah.
So I mean, like you guys were working heel really during that match, and I think you did work really good as a heel, because the dancing in between moves, the mocking people, it was great stuff.
Yeah, it was easy working as a heel, you know, doing the dance and stuff like that. I mean, one time we worked Eddie Guerrero and Chavo Guerrero in El Paso, Texas, and beforehand we bought ourselves sombreros and we wore them while we're doing our entrance, and as soon as we hit the ring, we dropped the sombreros and started doing our dance on the sombreros. And I think the crowd didn't like it, because mostly being Mexican in the crowd, you know, and they were so pissed off. The light went out and the audience tried to hit the ring, and, you know, good sombrero, Jordan, yeah, just like that. And it was so a dangerous situation that Eddie grabbed the mic and said to the crowd, "Hey, listen, it's just entertainment. We like those guys. They're our friends. They're just pretending," you know.
Wow,
and,
crazy.
Yeah, we had a lot of heat there. But then after that, they were cool. So Eddie and Chavo saved our ass that night.
Alex, I don't think I'll ever have the chance to ask anyone that ever took part in one of these things. So the 60-man battle royals at World War III, I personally, whenever I watch them, my head goes crazy with all the camera cuts and the split screen stuff, and I can't watch it. It's so like, it's in my head. I just can't do it. Like, how was it for someone being in the ring at the time?
Well, it was something really special. I mean, a one-time thing in my career. So it's really memorable. I mean, unbelievable how many talent we had in the ring. But also on the other side, it was very, how you say that in English, for taking part in in that battle royal. There were so many guys. You were like totally confused in the ring. You didn't know where to watch, where to hit, what to do next. I mean, it was really crazy. So yeah, it was a great experience, but one time is enough for me. I rather being in a singles match and, you know, I have space around me and stuff like that. But, you know, being in that, you know, that's history. So I'm very thankful for that also.
There was a huge amount of talent in WCW at one time. You know, the pure amount of great workers that were there, and the amount of guys that you were able to work with was just...
Well, at the high times, WCW had 250 wrestlers under contract.
250?
Yeah. And
wow.
Some of the guys I never saw. They just collected a paycheck. So that's probably one reason why WCW, you know, went down. When I started in WCW, they only had 25 wrestlers under contract.
Wow.
So I think it was just too much for the company, you know. I mean, even being a WCW Nitro show being 3 hours, you couldn't fit all those guys on one show. So why have them under contract?
Yeah.
That's I mean, 250 is a astronomical number.
Yeah, especially there were guys they got like paid like 250 grand a year, and you never saw him at a show. So that's not a very business smart, I think, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for the guy collecting the paycheck, is very.
Of course,
yeah.
you know, he was happy. You know, I'm just talking from a business standpoint for the company. You know, I mean, I think it would have been better if WCW would have continued being WCW instead of being bought by WWE. You know.
Mm. Well, we've often speculated if maybe it would have been better that WWE, after they bought them, would have just let the promotion carry on as WCW to keep maybe the illusion that it was a separate company, because we did a review of the pay-per-view Greed.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the WCW's last pay-per-view.
Last one, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the wrestling in the ring was, I mean, you had guys that were coming in. You had like AJ Styles and Air Paris.
Actually, AJ Styles and Air Paris, they worked the first match in WCW against me in Disco.
I remember, yeah. It's and you both worked your asses off in that match as well.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic match. I've actually got that written in my notes. AJ Styles. I mean, and I think you put them over as well, right, in that match?
I put many guys over, yeah.
Yeah.
as a heel, you put a lot of guys over. But it's a funny thing. Most of the people that joined WCW when they came in, the first match they wrestled against me.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho, Sabu, you know, AJ. I mean, a lot of people.
That's right. And I've actually got that in my notes as well, that when guys were coming in, you were giving them. And I think that is just a testament to how the people there understood how good you really are in the ring, Alex. Like, you know, you're not going to give these guys their first shot, you know, with someone who's not very good, or, you know, not able to carry a match and tell a story. And
well, I hope so. That was the reason. Yeah, I hope so.
Oh no, 100%, man. You know, it's easy to see. I mean, even the fact that when Scott Hall was chucked out of the NWO, and he was in between, so he was chucked out of the red, the white and black, the NWO, and his first match as he was on his own was against you. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
And it was a bloody good match as well. It really was. It was, you know, it told the story. But also, I mean, it wasn't a squash or anything. I mean, because you're a big guy and you got a lot in, and, you know, but it helped Scott Hall kind of progress after the NWO. Exactly. So that again, you were fantastic for helping guys out.
Well, I knew Scott Hall when he was Texas Scott. He worked for CWA beforehand in Germany against my dad. So a lot of guys I knew beforehand, you know. So it was easy, you know. It's like doing sports with your friends or colleagues, you know.
Did you just out of interest, did you know Loch Ness, aka Giant Haystacks, before?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
All those guys like Vader, Loch Ness, Finlay, Dave Taylor, Regal, they knew me when I was a little kid, like 8 years old and stuff like that. Yeah. So I grew up in the sport, and that, you know, it was nice seeing all those people which I knew, and it was even nicer that I was able to wrestle them now. You know, it's very
so good. Alex, what did you think of the NWO?
Well, I think it was a very good and very smart business move to establish this kind of group. I mean, they made a lot of money on it, and the people, I mean, the audience, they really liked the storyline. And of course, Hogan was very smart doing it, because before that, you know, the audience really, they didn't want to see him anymore. I mean, as soon as his music played and Hogan came out, you know, the people just reacted really bad. And they didn't want to see him anymore. And he was that smart, much respect for that he just switched his whole character and developed NWO. And he really represented that the NWO thing really great. I mean, you could tell he's a great entertainer, and you know, I mean, it was very, very good stuff. Even I wasn't part of it, but you know, that I think that had other reasons, because I'm a very, how you see, I always speak up my mind, and that's not always, you know, officials don't like that always if you speak up your mind. So I was probably saying, hey, kind of, how you say, Strafe, punishment kind of words.
Yeah, but it's not always best to speak your mind, because then you know, it's you sometimes then get pushed a little away.
But you know, my dad raised me like that, and I'm that much self-confident at that time that if they just would fire me, I just went to, you know, to WWE or to New Japan or whatever. So
did you ever feel like you were being punished in WCW for anything?
There were a couple times, yeah. You know, because sometimes they took me off TV for a while, or they got a losing streak, you know. But hey, that just works for guys who have a big ego, which they, you know, there's different guys in the business. You know, guys, they just like the lifestyle and they like the wrestling because it's a sport. But there's also guys in there, they get a really big head and a really big ego, and when they have to lose, you know, they get really depressed and stuff like that. But it didn't matter if I lose or win. For me, it was important to step in the ring, you know, being in front of the audience, have good matches and stuff like that. So if they thought that's a punishment for me, that it wasn't a punishment for me. The only punishment for me is if they would take me off the roster and I'm not allowed to wrestle, you know. Yeah. But when I was off TV, I still worked on the house shows and stuff like that. So, and I got a really good paycheck anyway. So I'm a pro, you know. If they want to do that, that's it, you know.
Talking about guys that don't want to lose, for a second, can we talk about Buff Bagwell with you for a sec? Yeah. Because there is some talk about when you debuted as Berlin, that you were supposed to, I think, fight Buff Bagwell, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And it was, for whatever reason, I mean, we've had Sonny Ono on the podcast, and we've spoken to Sonny about some stuff that happened backstage, actually at a Rhodes Wild. I think, was it 97, Jordan, or
99? I think
99.
Yeah.
Where basically Ernest Miller was wrestling against Buff Bagwell, and Buff didn't want to lose, and there was an altercation or whatever, and the cat said, you know, all right, fuck it, you know, we'll lose, we don't care, you know, but you know, let's just do it this way or whatever. Right. But you know, what was the story? Because you ended up wrestling Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and it was a bit of an odd match, to say the least, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that Bagwell is a really nice guy and a good guy. I mean, he really helps people. You know, when I came over to the States, he really helped me a lot, you know. And that he refused to lose to me, I did not take that personally, because it has not to do anything with me. It had to do with his status in the company and what they promised him to do with him. So it was a business decision,
Right.
Okay, of course it was bad for my storyline, but I could understand him why he had problems with the office, because like I said, if the office always tells you, hey, we're gonna do this with you, we're gonna do this with you, and that suddenly they tell him, hey, now you have to lose against this guy, with the new character, then of course he's not very happy about that. And at that point, it already was the transition from WCW to Vince Russo area and all that stuff, and everybody was afraid of their status and of their job, and they didn't know if the company would still exist in 2 months or whatever, so everybody looked out for themselves and looked for their status, because if the status is good, you get a better contract in the other company. If your status is bad, you get not a good contract. So it was a really tough time backstage anyway. The morale was bad, and yeah, I'm really not mad at him or anything like that. I mean, he, like I said, I mean, of course, he's a very self-confident person, a diva, I would say,
Yeah.
but he's really a good guy also, I mean, so I would say I'm still friends with him. So it was just the time really bad for this storyline. I mean, I should have saved Berlin for WWE. I shouldn't debut in WCW. That was a stupid business decision of myself,
I mean, going like pushing forward a little bit, then we'll go back afterwards. But going forward, the Berlin character, I think that would have been a great character. I mean, it pissed people off instantly. The fact that you were only speaking German, and it just made people angry.
Yeah, it had a lot of potential.
Yeah,
I mean, all the sheets and all the audience, all that, they really said that's one of the best gimmicks WCW brought out for a long time. But hey, Vince Russo didn't want to take the ideas for which Eric Bischoff started, and yeah, it was just bad luck, was just bad timing of myself. I should have saved it for WWE, and they would have made it a real big deal, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, you look at the time, it would have definitely gone over in WWE. I mean, I can even see in ECW that would have been fantastic.
Yeah, probably, yeah. But at that time, ECW wasn't that how you say, the financial standing wasn't that good anymore in ECW at that time anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there was a lot of times where ECW's financial standing was any good anyway. But
yeah, true. All the workers, they had a lot of passion, working for Paul Heyman. It was a really good company and something really special, I would say. Yeah.
Well, oh, sorry, Jordan, you got?
No, I was just going to ask. Did WWF or WWE call any other times before the end of WCW? Did they try and bring you over beforehand?
Well, directly they didn't approach me, but I heard from a lot of people that they had big interest in bringing me in. But I don't know. I think it's just the European thing that you're very loyal and very grateful for your chances. And WCW always treated me good. I made really good money, as a young kid. I got to travel the world. I got to wrestle the best of the world, my colleagues. I had a lot of fun, and I just wanted to be loyal to the company. If that is smart or not, I don't know. Probably a lot of people would say that's not very business smart, but that's just my thing. And after WWE bought WCW, they couldn't buy my contract because I had a contract directly with Time Warner. one of the few contracts WCW gave out. So I had a special thing going on there. Also, like, I think Kevin Nash had a contract like that. DDP had a contract like that. Goldberg, you know. And I was one of the guys also who had a contract like that. And they couldn't buy out my contract, WWE. And what they offered me wasn't enough. So I said, no, I'm going to sit out my contract. And at that time, you know, I was being straight on the road for, I don't know, 9 years there almost in WCW. And I was totally burned out, you know, physically and mentally. And I didn't want to end up like some of my colleagues. So I decided to, well, I have to go back to my roots, move back to Germany for a while to, you know, get a better feeling of myself again. And during the first year, WWE contacted me twice directly. And they said, hey, listen, are you interested in, you know, coming to WWE? And I said, well, I'm very honored and very thankful. But like I said at the beginning of the interview, if I step in the ring, I want to give 100% for the audience, 100% for the promoter, and 100% for myself. And if I can't do it, I have to say no. And that was the reason why I said twice no to the WWE. And if you say twice no, of course, WWE won't call you again. Then you have to approach them. But it worked out for me. I mean, I never really retired. I just, you know, I love the sport, and I never did. I never wrestled because of the money. I always just I you know, I grew up in the sport. I like the lifestyle. I like, you know, being in ring and, you know, doing that sport. And I wanted to help young talents in Germany and in Europe to get a good quality professional apprenticeship in wrestling. And that's why I decided to, you know, start the wrestling school. And it went so big, and the company, my promotion, New European Championship Wrestling, when, you know, we had 3 TV deals going on in Germany. One was Fightbox HD, which aired in 22 countries. So we had a really good run over here, and I just did not have the time to go back myself to wrestling. So I stayed here in Germany, and, you know, all those young kids have the same dream like I had, and I want to help them to, you know, live their dream. And, you know, Fabian Eichner, NXT, he was my student. He's doing really good, you know, over there.
That's
So what we're hearing is that Alex Wright isn't retired, and there's a chance he could still work another tour in the UK.
I could work a tour anywhere, but it would be great in the UK, of course.
Oh, you're going to make me dance, Alex. You're going to make...
A lot of family lives in the UK, you know, so.
Well, I mean, it's funny because your dad was actually trained by Ted Betley. Is that right?
Exactly, yes.
And, you know, he trained the Dynamite Kid, the Bulldogs. And it is funny how actually your uncle, I think, wrestled Davey Boy Smith in his TV debut when Davey was like 15.
Could be, yeah. Could be, yeah. You talk about Bernard, my uncle, yes. That's
right, yeah. I mean, yeah. He went to Canada as well, didn't he? And was Bearcat.
Yes, exactly, yeah. Yeah, so my whole family is crazy and into wrestling, yes. Yeah. My son is wrestling also, so.
Oh, wow. Okay. We might have a DWO, the Deutsche World Order.
No, we can't do that anymore. No. I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, maybe not. The connotation, maybe. Well, I'll tell you what, right? When your dad came over to the UK again, and he was a Bull Blitzer, and he won the championship, he was actually doing a specific walk that really pissed the UK fans off.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but that's a long time ago. Nowadays, you can't do that anymore.
No, but it was super white hot heat. That was, you know, and he actually won with a tombstone power driver.
Yeah. I think it was like, was it against Marty Jones, I think?
Yes, right. It was a fantastic match, Alex. It was just phenomenal. Yeah, really good stuff.
Yeah, two great workers in the ring, yeah.
Really, absolutely.
Now, this is something else that won't, it definitely hasn't escaped us, but you're one of very few people to be undefeated against Triple H on pay-per-view.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
How was it working with a young Paul?
It was fun. I mean, we started out about the same time in WCW, and he was hungry and I was hungry, and we wanted to show what we can do, and it was always fun working him. Yeah, it was a good time. Really easy working with him.
It's a very good match as well. If you know, for those that haven't seen
it's on the network. I watched it twice yesterday. Yeah. Like honestly, it.
You know, I think it was a good match, but great match, I wouldn't say. You know, I still was learning at the time. You know, I still developed. You know, turning into a man. You know, I was like 18 years old. You know, I mean, it was good basic, but I think down the road, like when I was like 25, I was much more secure in the ring. What I did, you know.
I still think some of your early matches when you were really young, that the one that stands out to me is the Pillman match. It was just phenomenal. You know, you were really young in that match. I think it was maybe 1995. Yeah. So how old would you have been? 20, 19?
19, yeah.
Yeah. 19. And it was just a fantastic match, you know, and the way you guys, you know, you shook hands at the beginning, you hugged at the end as well. You had Heenan calling you the Wonder Punk. It was just absolutely fantastic, you know. And again, it was first match on the card. Just really set the scene, got the crowd going. You know, I think because you'd been wrestling since you were like God knows how old, you know, you just the way you moved in the ring, you knew your way around the ring. So right. Even though you were young, you were still bloody good at 18, you know?
Thank you very much. I remember that match and I really enjoyed working Pillman. The only thing I would I was still very mad at myself is that I wasn't able to pull the surfboard. He fell off and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really mad at myself. Yeah. Still, I can't remember that, and it's how many years ago now? Almost 24 years or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Unbelievable. I'm old now. Shit.
I remember the British Bulldog match that you had with Davey Boy Smith as well, and he put you in the surfboard and he was like moving his legs up and down. It was another great kind of British style kind of match.
The surfboard is very hard to do. And you are very dependent on the guy who you pick up.
Yeah.
You know, if the tension in that body is not enough, then it doesn't work. So
it's the same as that move that we learned when we were training. We learned the surfboard. Obviously, being British, we learn all those kind of moves, but also the move where both of you bridge to stand up.
Right.
And that again, you have to work together really hard to get that to.
Very tough, yeah.
You know, it's tough.
Yeah. Not a body control, yeah. But I guess I was too, too hectic doing it in that moment. Probably it didn't work. That was probably the reason why it didn't work.
You were a little bit excited, do you think?
A little bit is very excited being in the ring. You know, Pillman had a very good reputation that he's a very good worker and a high flyer. You know, it was a very important match for myself. So yeah. It's a lot of pressure. You know.
Oh.
I mean, all my the guys on my roster in my company. They always tell me, oh my God, a lot of pressure, and this is pressure, and that is pressure. And I said, hey, listen, guys, I had to perform in front of millions live, you know, and my boss was sitting right beside there, and after the match they always check the ratings in your segment, if your ratings went down or up, and if it went down a few times, then they, you're off TV. So I said, you have to learn to live with the pressure if you want to really be competitive and work your way up in the big companies.
Yeah, I mean, that match, Great American Bash, first match against Brian Pillman, the pressure must have just been unreal, man.
Yeah, first match is always very important on a show,
Yeah.
I mean, if the first match is the shits, then you can kill the crowd for the rest of the night. Yeah.
How was it working in Japan in the Best of Super tournament and stuff like that?
I really enjoyed it because I like that kind of style, I like more the sport, this physical, solid working. And of course, my dad worked a lot of times over there. So it was very hard because they had a lot of expectations, because I was trained by my dad, and my dad had a very big name, working with Inoki and working with all those guys like just Tiger Mask and stuff like that, And also my dad had a very big reputation as a shooter, and so, I had to show if I can follow in his footsteps. And I really like Japan. I like the country. I like the people. They're very respectful. They respect the sport and the athletes. And but it was a very hard tour. I tore my ligament from my knee inside, right at the half of the tour, and I kept wrestling with it, and I broke my, how you say, my vertebrae in the back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not all the way through, but somebody gave me a German suplex and he didn't bridge enough, so I landed right with my spinal.
Yeah, on his head.
No, on his chin.
On his chin, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I kept working with that, and then I remember a night where I wrestled Benoit, and he gave me a suplex from inside the ring outside, and I planned to land on my feet, but somehow I didn't manage it, and I landed flat on my back on a concrete, and I had to continue 20 more minutes. So that was very tough, and but I have a lot of great memories from Japan. I met Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko my first time over there. I mean, and I learned a lot from them, and I met Hawk over there, great guy, and it was really an experience, and I wouldn't want to miss that experience. I mean, it was really good times over there. Different than the States, but very, very special, very good.
Do you think that being trained in the kind of British style helped a bit more translating over to Japan? They're a bit more
definitely
receptive
because
to it?
all the UK guys there are, I would say, one of the best in techniques in the whole world. I mean, when you book a UK wrestler, that he can work, and in Japan they have a lot of technique also. So technique and technique, it works very well together. If you do not have technique and you go over to Japan, you have to watch your ass, because they just eat you up if you don't fight back. And it's also for an advantage to be a sound technical wrestler if you also go to Mexico or stuff like that. It really helps. I mean, it helps you anywhere in the world, but
sure,
there especially. So I'm very thankful and grateful to my dad that he teach me all that stuff. I never had any worries when I went to a country or different promotion, or I wrestled in different opponents that I would have problems in the ring, because I met guys in the business. They were pros, but they always had fear in stepping in the ring in some countries or with some opponents, because they weren't secure with their knowledge about wrestling. So plus I did amateur wrestling for a long time in Germany. And of course my dad learned me all the submission and shoot wrestling, so I feel very comfortable in any situation.
So if anyone tried any kind of shit, you could probably get yourself out of it.
Yeah, or defend myself. Yeah,
exactly. That's right.
Alex, there was one thing we sort of looked for before speaking to you, and that's how come there wasn't that much Alex Wright merchandise?
Well, I at the beginning I had a lot of merchandise. I mean, I had the action figure, I had cars, I had I was on the games, I was on the cards. I mean, there was enough merchandise, and the only thing I did not have were t-shirts. But I think it was because the WCW office was under the impression that a German guy wouldn't sell good enough merchandise in the States, and they did not make foreign countries to their priority in marketing. So I don't know why. You would have to ask some different people why, who made the decisions. But yeah,
well,
I don't know.
I mean, in the UK we didn't get much. We WCW stuff. We got in the early 90s. We got the Galoob figures, but that was just before you were there. And then after that, between then and about 1998 or something, we didn't get anything.
No, because I think that the American companies really did not take the European market it's not serious enough, it wasn't a priority. I mean, that's what pissed off the fans here in Germany, that WCW or WWE just came over one or twice a year, just for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah,
it was a very bad entertainment, like sound and light equipment and stuff like that, and it's just very low budget. And that was, I think, a big mistake, because I think Europe is a very big market, and especially UK, of course. I mean, nowadays it's different, but at that time. But like I said, you would have to ask the head of merchandise why no merchandise t-shirt.
Yeah, why didn't we have an Achtung Achtung t-shirt available?
Well, now, just last year, or was it this year, a company approached me, and they produce an action figure again of me in the Legend series.
Oh wow!
So this is coming out in probably end of this year, depending how all the things with Corona are developing. Yeah, I see you have a lot of action figures back there, huh?
Yeah, man. I've actually got your card as well from the from this series, from the WCW NWO trading cards.
Yeah.
I've got your one in my folder, but I've also got this from the stickers.
I don't have that anymore.
I'll send you this, man. I will gladly send you that.
No, that's okay. Just keep it.
Maybe
that's nice of you.
Maybe I'll send it to you. Maybe you can sign it for me. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
I've got to get a little cheeky one in there somehow.
It's very strange. Like WCW in the UK, like we had Nitro, we didn't get Thunder, we didn't get the pay-per-view. So as a youngster, in my house we had satellite TV and stuff like that. So I had to watch WCW pay-per-views on DSF. So all my WCW pay-per-view watching when I was 9, 10, 11 was all in German. I I didn't get to watch them with.
So you should be able to speak German now. Kannst du mich verstehen?
I was too young to understand what was going on with the culture. I was just trying to watch what was happening, but it was it was very strange, like for me to, well, for anyone, way for us to watch, WCW pay-per-views. But it seemed like they had more of it than we did over here, because we just had Nitro. On TNT.
They aired also WCW Worldwide and stuff like that, matches, and that's all business between managements and how much money they pay WCW for airing their product and stuff like that.
Did you know that you were very heavily featured on the adverts for DSF though?
Not really. But I would guess it's smart to do, because I was the only German guy, right? So actually, I remember the producer told me once, head of DSF, he said I had the highest rating ever in DSF. It was like, for German TV, was like 1.1 million rating in when I had my match. So that was very good to know. But compared to the States, where you had like 30 millions, it was nothing really.
Is it true as well that your dad did a WCW highlight show? My
dad?
Yeah.
No. Oh, no. You probably you mean he trained a German comedian, a star in Germany, a TV comedian.
Right.
He trained him wrestling so that he can have a match against me.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah. Where can we see that?
Oh, please. It's not that good. It's just a pure entertaining match. There's no I mean, it's a funny match, but I was very pissed at that moment, because it was, WCW was the first pay-per-view WCW did out of Germany. And instead of giving me a really legit good opponent, like an Eddie Guerrero or whoever, they gave me a comedian. And that comedian, he trained maybe 2 weeks, and he hardly could take a body slam. So, I mean, he's a nice guy, but I would have liked to show my home country a good match, and it was against Tom Gerhardt, by the way.
Would it have been so hard for him to give you a title shot that night?
Yeah, that would have been nice. Well, actually, I had a title match for the tag team titles in Germany, I think. Was it? Yeah, in Germany. Yeah.
One thing that always struck me with you as well was, even if you were kind of, when you were paired up with Disco Inferno and it was kind of on the comedy kind of end of the spectrum, you still would have, I mean, you had fantastic matches where you literally carried whole matches, like Halloween Havoc 2000, where you had the 3-way tag team match. Mm-hmm. You were just phenomenal in that match, man. You were just like fucking business, baby. You were like really working your ass off and just controlling the match.
Well, that's what you have to do. I didn't want to drift too much in comedy, you know? Because that was the how do you say that in English? Gefahr. The threat, is that right? Where there was, if you teaming with Disco, he's really into entertainment, and you had to stop him sometimes, so the people still take us serious enough in the ring, So, but yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed working with Disco in a tag, because, like I said, he was a very funny guy. I traveled the road with him, and that match I can remember. It was a good match. I really enjoyed that also.
Was a good match.
I think was it called Mysterio in that match also?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Mysterio and was it Perry Saturn? No.
I think Kidman.
Kidman, it was. Kidman, sorry. Yeah. Mysterio, Kidman, and you guys. Yeah, I mean, it was. You were you were just phenomenal in that match. It was just really, really good. We actually watched a pay-per-view where we were watching a Disco Inferno match, and the thing with Disco is as well, he could work. Like,
he really could work.
He really good worker. Like, he had the look, and he really could work. And Jordan, who was it against? Was it against DDP or someone? If a title match?
Oh, it was Dean Malenko, I think.
Dean Malenko. Yeah,
Dean
it was Dean Malenko versus Disco Inferno, and like Disco was doing phenomenal, you know, but then he obviously would stop and do the dancing and that, and then they'd be like, "Look, cover him,"
Right.
Yeah, but
yeah,
it was good.
Yeah, that's what I said before, that a lot of hardcore fans didn't look past the dancing. They didn't look past the dancing in my situation, and also Disco had the same problem, you know. It took a little bit away from the seriousness. You know, if I would have walked out straight with a mean look and a very poker face on my face, you know, walk out to the entrance, it would have probably been different, but it wouldn't be that entertaining. And I think in the entertainment industry, it's very important to be a total package, you know. And since I wasn't one of the heavy guys, I mean, I was around 105 kilos. It was good that I did the dancing because it made me unique, you know. And I didn't want to take to any illegal stuff, you know, to get like 20 more kilos.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, do you ever think? I mean, can I ask you? It's quite a weird question. Maybe you can tell me to shut up if you want. But as a heel, I think you could have been absolutely fantastic with a little bit more difference in the booking if they would have just, you know, an in between the Alex Wright dancing heel and Berlin, where you know, when you're working like the Dancing Falls or whatever it was, the Boogie Nights, sorry, you know, where you had that meaner look. You know, I think as a singles wrestler, as a heel, you could have gone that full right. This is it now. I'm not your smiling, happy, dancing boy anymore. I'm going to speak German all the time. You're all Schweinhunds, you know, or whatever. You know.
Well, I was worried. Actually, before the Boogie Nights happened, it was a plan to go in that direction because they wanted to make me as the youngest U.S. title champion. That was a time when Deborah McMichael was managing me on my side. But then I had that big injury where I had the bleeding in my head and I got blind, and I had to take a break, you know. And at that time, I didn't know if I ever gonna be able to go back to wrestling. And that was very, you know, that was life. I mean, that was fate, because at that moment the booker said, "Hey, listen, we're gonna give you a really huge push. You're gonna be the youngest U.S. title champion, and after that, we're gonna make you walk towards the big championship." And well, happened that, you know. And what was the other thing? What I wanted to say? Berlin, there was a big problem. Oh yeah, and the Berlin thing had a lot of potential, but what they did wrong, booking wise, was that they tried to sell the audience that I was a different guy.
Yeah.
You know, instead of having a storyline why I developed this guy, and it was, you know, so the people could understand out there and make a story out of it.
Yeah.
Instead of they try to sell it as I was a new wrestler and a new guy, and you know, people are not stupid. So that was a big mistake there from the booking. Oh.
That was what I was thinking. You know, it could have been a great transition from you saying, right, that's it. You know,
exactly.
No more Wonderkind. You know, he's gone, he's dead. You know, I'm fed up now. I'm pissed off with all this, exactly. This and this, and now you could be a bit more hardcore. You know, maybe, you know, you had the Wall, didn't you, as your
bodyguard? Yeah,
bodyguard. You know, and I mean, yeah. It could have been a lot more than it was, but like you say, unfortunately, in wrestling, sometimes things just for whatever reason. Most of the time it's to do with the bookers. They don't
backstage politics, a lot of times. And
yeah.
in the time where Vince Russo came into the company, it changed a lot. And he really, like I said before, he did not want to take any ideas which Eric started. And that Berlin was under Eric, so Berlin was kicked out,
So, I mean, that's a shame. Like I said, like all the elements and components were there for Berlin to be successful. In my mind, it almost sort of, if I'm going to bring it to anything for anyone that's not seen Berlin stuff, it would be Rusev.
Yes,
it would be a lot like similar to that sort of style. Like, someone talking, Rusev didn't, or Miro, whatever you want to call him now, he didn't speak English in his, interviews, promos. He had Lana doing it for him. And it was, that's how I would see it.
That's life, I mean, what can you do? I mean, it's the past, but also it's experience, and I enjoyed doing it at the time. It was like 9 months or a year I did that gimmick, and after that it was the Boogie Nights, and I had fun there also. I was just very happy, and also again very grateful that I was able to see again and step back in the ring. So everything else was not very important to me.
Was it a specific moment or a specific impact to the head that caused the bleeding, if you don't mind me asking? Was it a build up of headshots, or what was it?
It was a build up. I knew they wanted to give me a real big push, and I kept wrestling with a lot of injuries and a few concussions. And if you don't give your head, if your brain doesn't get enough time to regenerate, then it builds up, and the pressure was getting higher and higher. And if you say to the office, hey, listen, I need a break, they say, okay, we write you out of TV. There's an important reason, but coming back into the show again, it's very hard. You lose your spot, and there's a lot of other wrestlers, they would take that spot, So I didn't want to lose my spot on the show, so I did not mention that to the WCW office, and I kept wrestling. And I remember I got married on I bought a house on Thursday. On Friday I got married. I flew I did on Saturday a house show, and Sunday I had the pay-per-view, and Monday I had Nitro, and I felt really weird, and I felt sick, and I had a lot of really bad headache. And I mean, it was so bad I almost couldn't walk, but the show must go on. And so I did the match with Prince IK on Nitro, and during the match he gave me an Inzugiri kick to the head, and that was the final straw for it, I guess. And my blood vessel popped, and during the match I started getting blind, and I continued the match, and as soon as I walked through the curtain, I was totally blind. Yeah.
Wow.
That's it. And then they told me in the hospital, they said, that's it, your career is over. And that was the hardest phone call I ever had to make, to call my my new wife, or how you say, just married wife.
Yeah.
I said, hey, listen, I'm blind, I can't wrestle anymore. I was like 21 years old at that time. Yeah.
Heavy.
Was heavy, yeah. And then I had to lay a week straight. I was not allowed to move, and then they performed a test where they cut your artery open by your how you say, where your hip is down there, where your leg, and then they push a very long plastic tube through your body while you're awake, and they push it to my brain, and then they tested it, and then I was lucky. My body absorbed the blood, and the blood vessel was closed, and they said, okay, still you're not allowed to wrestle. And after that, I had to stay in my home. I had to lay flat 1 month in a dark room. I wasn't allowed to move. And then I said, well, I said, but you know, if you love something in life and you have passion for it, you just give up. So I said, no, I'm gonna try everything to come back. And I lived in South of America, in Atlanta, in Georgia. And in that area, there are a lot of wooden built homes. So I went to my dining room and I started doing a bump. And I got right away sick because my brain was not able to compensate the bump. And you know, it took me 3 hours. I waited 3 hours and I took a bump again. And I did that every day. And you know, I worked my way up, and it took me about 9 months. Then I went back to the wrestling school, the power plant. And after 9 months, I said to WCW, hey, listen, I'm ready again. And they said, no, the doctor said you can die if you step in the ring. So I went to, I don't know how many doctors, and finally I found one doctor who said, hey, this is okay. You are able to wrestle. And, you know, I gave them that kind of letter or whatever the doctor gave me there. And WCW said, okay, if you really want to step in the ring, we give you the chance, but beforehand you have to sign a waiver, or how you say, a release.
Yeah, a waiver. Yeah,
it's my own responsibility if I die. And on every page it said, you can die, you can die, you can die. And yeah, I signed it without even really reading it. And from that on, many more years, I stepped in the ring and I had a lot of matches. Of course, it was not easy at the beginning. I remember many times I did the match and I felt sick afterwards, and I still had to travel after the show 4 hours in a different city by myself, like Montana. If you drive through Montana, there's nothing around you. It's just darkness, the stars, and that's it. And I never knew if I'm gonna arrive in the next city, but you know, that went away. And after half a year, I really felt really good again. And it was a tough time, but yeah, that's why I'm very grateful that I was able to continue my wrestling career, you know. And since that, I'm still in the sport, and even in my wrestling school, I did many matches. So very thankful.
That's a crazy story. That's nuts.
Yeah, I guess I was very lucky.
And a tough bastard as well.
Yeah.
Well, I think everybody who loves the sport, they try as long as they can to somehow, you know, get in the ring, back in the ring. Yeah.
That is. I mean, it's great that you live to tell the tale. Really, it could have been so much worse.
Yeah, true. But on the other hand, I was very lucky because in Saginaw, where it happened, where Nitro took place, they had a special head unit, and this was probably very good for this situation, because if I would have been somewhere in a little town, you know, and could have ended maybe differently. Plus, WCW paid my whole stay in this it was a very good hospital, you know, and they really took care of me, I have to say.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, that is good.
Yeah.
Alex, are you watching much wrestling these days? Are you watching anything that's going on in the US?
Not really, because I have so much on my side by myself, you know, my wrestling school, and you know, I tape those matches and I analyze it and I talk to my students, and then I watch all the matches of my promotion, you know, and all that stuff. And I you know, I like somehow more the old times. I'm more the old school type, you know. The match which you mentioned with my dad, I really enjoy watching stuff like that. Or, you know, and I like to watch like NXT stuff, some of it, especially if once my foreign student Fabian wrestles, plus sometimes I watch AEW, New Japan I always like still, but WWE has so much hours of wrestling now as a product, you really can't watch all of it. So you kind of lose storylines and stuff like that. So I just pick out certain matches and enjoy them. But I don't follow it on a regular basis. Not really. I still love wrestling, but it's just then too much. And some stuff is really, I don't know. Some storylines I don't really, find good, or it's not interesting enough for me.
Maybe it's not wrestling centric enough. It's maybe too showbiz sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm, in my opinion, WWE would be doing good of having more wrestlers again, instead of buying all the pros of other sports. Because if you start in wrestling and you want to be a pro wrestler from the beginning, like you have the passion for it and you go through hard times and then you finally made it to a big company, they are much more loyal, and they paid their dues, and they love the sport. But if you go to how you say ehemalig, former football player, he just does it because he wants to make quick money, and he has no connection to that sport, like guys who start wrestling in front of 3 people, in a shitty place and stuff like that. I've done all that. I stepped in the ring with a lot of injuries and worked in, really shitty places, and you have a total different connection to the sport and to the audience and stuff like that. And I think they would be doing good if they would have more guys from that side, instead of all those millionaires which have maybe an ego and stuff like that.
Well, it goes to show. if you watched matches like Volta versus Dragunov, they're like 2 pure wrestling guys, a very UK style match. And even the Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole feud as well in NXT. These guys that have worked on the independents.
Right.
Wrestling guys. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. NXT has anyway the better matches.
Yeah.
And that's probably also why AEW, is a really competitor to WWE now, because they have a lot of real matches, and WWE's, they have a lot of talents, but they don't use them properly. Like my former student Fabian, he's an unbelievable talent. He just kicks ass. He's a crazy guy, but he does not get the chance to show everything he can do. And that's very sad, because there's a lot of guys like him down there, and just because they're not that tall or not that heavy. He weighs about he was about 225 pounds, and he's unbelievable height. The Hardy Boys did. We would do it like that, but they just don't give him the chance enough, And there's a lot of other guys, and I think they lose the audience to other companies. A lot of students in my school, they say, well, we watch WWE, but we like AEW much better, or New Japan much better, or NXT if we watch WWE NXT, So I think they're gonna have a problem in the future if they continue that direction.
Yeah, are you looking forward to watching CM Punk and Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole in AEW then?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Then they have a real big problem, WWE.
Yeah, we watched Daniel Bryan Danielson, however you want to call him, spent a lot of time in the UK, did some UK tours with companies over here, and we saw him in the late, early 2000s quite a bit over here.
Yeah. Great worker. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alex, I mean, we don't want to take up any more of your time. We can only really say danke for you coming on and being so great. I mean, Chris, I mean, yeah,
I could talk to you all
you've been excited
day.
about this.
Honestly, I've been excited because I'm a huge fan of British wrestling. We both are. And, the fact that you were trained by your dad and your dad was such a great worker. Like I say, we had something in the UK called the Wrestling Channel.
Mm-hmm.
And it showed all of the old British wrestling all the time. So the world of sports stuff,
right.
And we literally, we were able to then watch all that stuff again, and watching you in the ring, shades of Steve, and like I say, with your European uppercuts and the cartwheels and all that kind of stuff, it was just great watching you. And I have been excited about this for months, and we haven't told anyone that we were having you on, and
okay.
it's just absolutely great. And we cannot thank you enough. I mean, I could personally chew your ear off for hours and hours. I mean, just talking about people you've worked with and stuff like that. But we understand that you're a busy guy, so you've got the Right Stuff wrestling school. Did you want to plug any of your stuff now and give people the email address and the website and stuff?
Sure. Again, yeah, please. It's if you want to learn pro wrestling and you're interested in the sport, just check out my website. It's www.prowrestlingschool.de. It's also in English, so for anybody who's interested from the UK, he's more than welcome in my school. And again, thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed being on, and anytime again. And thanks for being a fan. Man,
thank you very much. We're just very grateful that you're able to join us, because running a wrestling school, I mean, if we were younger and we were back in the game, I mean, there was a time.
No excuses.
Oh, I don't know, man. We've bumped our last bump, I think. It's
oh no, come on.
I don't know. Maybe it might be worth us taking a trip out to the school.
Yeah, let me know if you're in Germany.
Oh, I very nearly moved to Germany many years ago.
Okay.
I nearly moved to Cologne, to Köln.
Okay, good.
So that didn't happen for whatever reason. But yeah, I mean, if you do any seminars and stuff when COVID gets a bit less crazy,
yes.
Jordan, man, we've got to go and just.
I might even take another bump.
Man, you've got to. I'll happily chop the shit out of you again.
My wife will be furious to hear this.
Okay. No, okay. I remember that. So my next seminar, I give you a call, and then no excuses.
Please do, man.
You guys are still young. Come on.
I'm ready, man. If I get to step in the ring with Das Wunderkind, I will be a happy man.
Okay, good.
So thanks for joining us, Alex. And if we can grab you another time for maybe a part 2 when you're not busy, that would be great as well.
Anytime. I had a blast. Thank you very much.
Thanks, you man. So much, Alex Wright, everyone. That is so great. Thank you, Alex, for sticking around.
Well, there you have it, guys. That was a favorite for me there, really. Alex Wright, the Wonderkind, sorry. That's Wonderkind, or the Wonder Punk, as Bobby the Brain Heenan used to call him. That was great. I mean, enjoyed every moment of that. And, we want to thank Alex again for his time. He's a busy man. He's running the wrestling school in Germany. He's running his own promotion. He's talking about his TV deals and stuff. So yeah, he's a busy man, and the fact that he's given 2 jabronis in Hertfordshire his time is just we're really thankful for that.
That's right. Two J bros from Hertfordshire. But like we said before, the #1 wrestling podcast in all of Hertfordshire. with JB and the best Chris in all of wrestling podcasts.
Yeah.
Right here, whichever way I'm pointing, it's pointing to Chris.
That's his good, yeah.
Very good. Yeah, we got nothing but thank yous and love for Alex Wright for giving us the amount of time he did for that. It was so good. We had so much fun. And as always, hit those buttons. We will keep coming out with these random surprise interviews, and we'll keep doing the reviews whenever we're not doing random surprise interviews.
Yep.
Hit those buttons, comment, like, subscribe, follow, whatever
Slap the
else.
bell, man.
The
right.
the usernames, the Twitter handles, all of that stuff. It's all on there. It's all on the video if you want to see it. At Chat Grapple Pops. You can't miss it. We have to have a very special thank you because this show today is brought in part to you by
Zenpop.jp. Use the link down in the description and use the promo code GRAPPLE for $5 off your Zenpop.
Worldwide.
That's right, worldwide. So these boxes that we've got here are the Japanese sweet boxes, but there is also a ramen box and a stationery box. So you can choose whichever one you want and you'll get $5 off that. Touch our link in the description and use the promo code GRAPPLE.
And this is a fresh opening. Like I will show the rest of the world what we get on Instagram later on.
That's right.
As I open this box right now, I don't know if you can hear this on the microphone. It is a fresh opening.
That's right. See what we got in here. Look at that.
I can't hold mine up and open it at the same time, but this is just... I'm just picking out one thing here from the box right now, and all I can tell is that it's Pokemon.
You've got everything in here. You've got... so you've got these Pokemon crisps. You've got some spicy little things here. I believe this is the Halloween box. It is the Spooktastic one, I believe. Yeah.
It definitely looks like the Spooktastic box.
And you've got little chocolate pretzel things here. We've got a little tin of like fruit sweeties there. And there's loads of stuff underneath the bottom. There's just untold stuff in here. So
we'll definitely be showing you that on Instagram. So head over there, check out the story. It might be the story, it might be the actual page. I haven't figured that out yet, but head on over there once you're done listening to this, because we've got some great treats and surprises in these Zenpop.jp boxes, subscription boxes, where you can get $5 off worldwide on whatever you order.
Touch our link in the description. Use the promo code GRAPPLE. Do it now.
Hit the link, hit the bell.
Hit the bell.
Everything.
Yes, baby.
Thank you so much for sticking with us. Thank you so much to Alex Wright for joining us. Thank you to Chris for being Chris.
Thank you for JB for being JB, baby. We are Chat Grapple and Cheap Pops. We ain't going nowhere.